You can't automate something if you don't have a process in place. If you're trying to sell something that can be replaced, you will quickly replace yourself out of a job. In a world of change, the learners shall inherit the earth, whereas the learned will be perfectly equipped for a world that no longer exists. My entire concept is around simplifying success. Do the basic things and do them well, and do them more than everybody else. Let's talk automation. But first, before I dive into this, I have to take a fisherman's friend because I've got a bit of a cold today. I always got a cold. That's having kids, I guess. So I'm going to get through a 20-minute podcast. I'm going to need to take a fisherman's friend. Anyway, we're going to talk about automation today. Is it needed as a broker? Do you need to have automation? We'll talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and kind of just give you my take on automation, because I do think that it stresses a lot of people out. Let's just put it that way. Stresses a load of people out. Brokers get very stressed about this whole concept of automation. I literally had a discovery call yesterday. The guy signed up, and he was telling me all about how he is like a self-professed technophobe, and he's worried about everything that's coming in and how does he deal with it. And if you're like that, then I'm going to talk to you today. But you also have the other end of the spectrum, and I've worked with clients like this in the past, and I've known people like this in the past, in right now, who are the complete other side, which believe that automation is the holy grail, it's the next thing, and we need automation, and we need to effectively replace everybody. And yeah, we're going to unpack all of that today and talk about how that works. Before we go any further, if it's the first time in meeting, hello, my name is Ash Borland. I am a business coach, helping mortgage brokers with sales, marketing, and scaling their business through systems and processes. And over the years, I have helped hundreds of brokers. And hopefully, with this episode today, I can help you do something as well the same. Hopefully navigate this muddy mess of automation that gets you all tied up. So let's dive straight into the first one, which is automation actually needed? And then we could, end the episode here and go, no, no, it absolutely is. So it is needed. Automation is needed. And, but it's a very nuanced thing. But as a broker right now, if you are, moving into this 2025, 2026, 2027, moving forward, you need to have automation. If you don't have automation, you are going to be left behind. And there's a great quote that I love, which is an Eric Hoffer quote. And the quote goes, in a world of change, the learners shall inherit the earth, whereas the learned will be perfectly equipped for a world that no longer exists. I didn't have to read that other quote or anything. I know this one so much. And I love that quote. And that quote speaks to me so much in the world we're living in today, which is that if you are not adapting to the new world, what's happening, you will no longer be relevant. And that's true. And I hate to be that but it is true. And actually, I was at a conference, well, not a conference, I was at an event recently where I was doing some speaking there. And the individual, was talking to one of their head of product, and they were saying, we just can't get people to take action. They can't press the button. They're just like scared. And the reason people are scared is because they believe a lot that they'll tell you it's not going to change. What it really is an ostrich sticking its head in the sand, which I think is fun fact on that. They don't actually do that. I don't know where that came from. ChatGPT it, they'll tell you they don't do it. It's just a random thing that people say. It's annoying, by the way, my blocked nose, really driving me mad. But yeah, so is it needed? Yes, it is, but it's not always needed as much as you think. And so hopefully in this episode, I'm going to give you a bit of a balanced nuance to this as to where I think you should go with it, because everyone's going to tell you each way or the other. And I will say, if I'm going to be completely honest, most people who will tell you this, and nearly all of them I know, nearly all of them I love. I think they're all great people. Some of them might even be clients in some cases, depending on where it is. But they've all got like a skin in the game. They've all got like a stick in the race. I think a horse in the race. I don't know if it's a stick in the race. I might be wrong. Let me know, by the way. Drop me a DM, people, if it is stick in the race. I think it might be it's horse in the race, but I don't know if it's stick in the race. Anyway, I'm a one-to-one coach. I work with people over Zoom. We chat, we coach, we grow your business. It's human to human. My business is built on human to human. Of course, tech is at the back. So I'm giving you my honest opinion of where I think this doesn't affect my business model, really, at all. So I'm going to tell you where I think it sits. Whereas lots of other people will tell you, you need to be on my system, or you need to use this thing, or you need to use that thing, and everybody else's system is rubbish. I'm not going to review the systems, but I'll tell you my general take on automation and what comes with that. So my first thing with this, my second thing with this one is do not go all in on it. So yes, it is needed, but you don't need to go all in on it. And why do I say that? Is because before we go into, we've gone to the people of like, the people who are like, I don't need it. And so I've just addressed you, don't be the ostrich, the imaginary ostrich, apparently. Now we're going to go to those people who are like, you are, you know, Will I Am, where he literally wears all the AI stuff. Like, you're that guy or girl. And don't be that person. I think when you go all in on automation to an extreme, you lose the one thing you actually are. Now, weirdly, some people might know, some people won't. I'm a one of my clients, and I'm a consultant for them, is Mortgage X. The Mortgage X, they're not paying me to do this shout out, but they're phenomenal. Most of you will not be able to use their software because the networks won't allow it right now because it's so cutting edge. It's insane. I mean, it's pretty crazy what it can do. But one of the things that I love, and the reason I work with them as a client, is because they believe that the broker is the most important thing. So they're not trying to get rid of the broker from the process. Now, the AI is insane, but they do not believe that at the core of their entire being of a business is that they believe the broker is the most important bit. So they're trying to remove the back end stuff, but allow the broker to do the thing they're good at, which is speak to clients, be with clients, and do that human stuff. Now, why do I see this important with automation, and why I say it's the same thing is because that's it. The WhatsApp from you, not the email, the voice note from you, the contact, the discovery call, the asking them to chase them in certain things, even if it's maybe your customer service, you know, your case manager, your customer service manager, if it's those, or your power planner, whoever it may be, there is a human element to it. And when you remove that and you automate, you do lose that kind of feeling. It's a strange thing, and you do. And so there are things in my business that are I'm a big automator. I do automate a lot of things, but you'll see as we go through, I'm more of a systems and process guy than I am an automation guy, and I'll explain what I mean by that actually in the next point. But I think that you need to have that personal element. I don't do group coaching because I don't believe in. I feel personally, it's not I believe. I personally feel like I lose that personal element. To me, it's probably the most paramount thing of all of it, because it's the one thing you can't replace. And if we're trading things we can replace, then it can become commoditized. And that is my biggest takeaway with all this stuff: is if you're trading something you can't, that if you're trying to sell something that can be replaced, you will quickly replace yourself out of a job. Not quickly, it could take time, but it could. So be careful not to offer your clients too much of automation. Automation should be used to help you in the back end. But at the front end, I think you should be looking at what is good for humans, for you to create that personal touch, and what is good for the business, you know, and what doesn't really need to be done. So there's lots of stuff that can be automated, but I'm just saying don't automate everything. And I do see this, and again, most of the people I'm talking about here, with massive love and respect, that they've got a business model, they're going to sell that, and I agree with that. This is me, my, you know, not non-stick horse, my stick horse. There you go, a stick horse in the race. Today is a delirious one. I've been up since 5 o'clock, and I've slipped a disc in my back, so I'm all over the place. So, not slipped the disc, herniated a disc. Slipped the disc is way more dramatic. That's such a me thing. It's not as dramatic as it sounds, but it still sucks. So anyway, that's what I'd say is the thing. Do not go all in on the automation. Now, but you do need it. Now, let's move into this thing about process, what I said. So this is something I've seen. I remember seeing this with a client of mine years ago now, and he was some of you might be a guilty one of these as well, is that he loved to get the tech. So he'd have all the tech. Someone would tell him, oh my gosh, you know this thing? It does this and this and this and this. And he'd buy it. And he'd come to me and he'd go, Ash, look, it does all this. I'm like, great. But what are we going to do with it? Because he didn't have a process. He didn't have a system. So his business specifically was a mess. It was reactive, not a mess. It kind of was a mess, but it was a mess because it was reactive. And so what he was doing was business comes through. And if this sounds like you, then, well, fix it. But it's one of these where Business come in the door, he would react to it. The phone would ring, he would react to it. Emails come through, whatever was happening. It was always constantly, whatever was going on. Yep. I'm so busy, but he was always never as busy. Like, he always felt like he wasn't writing as much money as to the effort, the busyness he was putting in, all of that. He didn't have a solid process. And what we did, well, we didn't do this because we did, but like when we were talking about this I was saying to him, I was like, you can't you can't automate something if you don't have a process in place. So please don't think that buying some sort of crazy cool software or some sort of AI automation and by the way, those things are phenomenal, but you need to have the process. And one thing I've noticed is if you adopt someone else's process without running it in, to take a process and learn it takes about, to be honest, like a full mortgage journey. People don't like me when I say this. It takes like a year. If you've got staff, it's going to take you a year. If you're a one-man band, you're a one-woman band, you can probably do it, let's say 6 months. But it's going to take you like a year to effectively extract, to get yourself to the point where your process is yours. And I don't just mean like a little process, like a bit of a discovery call, but I mean like my mortgage business mastery system is a full process. And that, if you've ever had Fisherman's Friends, by the way, they're super strong. That is, that takes people like 18 months to learn. That's everything. Marketing, closed loop system is what we call. So they come in, they ideally never leave. That's the idea. That takes ages. And the great thing about this is that is a system. It is a process. It is not an automation. And this is something I'm really, really distinct about. Get the language right. It is not an automation. It is a process. At that point, when I work with clients and we do this, if they go to this point, automation can come in. Now, this is part, you can actually see this. If you head over to ashbourne.com/masterclass2, I think, letter 2, not 202, not 2WO. That's my staff framework, which is the scaling framework that I work with clients on. And I've decided to share it in a masterclass. And you will see that part of that, I think it's step 3, is the automation staff. STA automation staff is the automation, and I can't remember the thing. I just remember it's automation. So that one specifically is important, but you automate stuff once the process is in place. But if the process is not in place, you can't automate it. And if you adopt someone else's process, which I think you should, there are some incredible people out there who have incredible processes who can teach you. Me, yours truly included in that category, but there are lots of them who many of you might not realize we're close. We know each other. We're good friends, a lot of them. And it's a small world, but those people, you have to learn the process before you can automate it and implement it. If you just adopt it and think it's just going to plug and play, no matter how hard you think it is, it's not. Because what I've noticed is if you automate it, you don't know it enough. And when you don't know it enough, you will still go back to doing the chaos you did before. You won't keep it as it was supposed to be. You won't keep it as like you'll go exactly back to your default. You have to run it so much. And there's a great thing. There's a guy that I remember working with who was a fear specialist called Keith, and I can't remember his surname. I worked with him. I interviewed him on a podcast years ago, 7 years ago. I think I was just, maybe 6 years ago, I was just starting this. And he said, Ash, don't practice till you get something right. Practice till you can't get it wrong. That's huge. And that's what it is with process. So don't do automation until you've got your process nailed. Once you've nailed it, you can automate loads in there. You can get it so much faster, so much slicker, because you know exactly what you're doing and where. So then you can automate it, because you say, I always say that same thing, and I've ran it enough times that I know the clients always ask that. So if I include that in the content, that can be automated. But what we often do is try to automate things we don't know about. We don't even know. There's too many variables of both known and unknown. It's the unknown variables that are going to catch us out. So that's the thing you have to be very aware of. Process first, then automate second. Next point. So the next one that I would say is that you have, what I see anyway, if you are going to go to an automation, is be careful of this grass is greener concept. Now, what you'll find when learning a system and moving to new systems is they take a hell of a lot of time. So any process like an automation, I, for example, use Go High Level, which is what Active CRM and Mortgage 360 is built on. So I use that. And I use that with my clients. I'm not recommending people should use that one if you are not working with me, for example, because it's quite difficult to use. But if you are, you want to use it, you can. I've got a link in here somewhere. There's a round link. If not, you can message me. I can send you a link to get you, like, it's a 14-day trial. But it's pretty hard. And so what you'll find is, and I get people message me, they're like, Ash, should I use Active CRM? Should I use Mortgage 360? Should I use Go High Level? Should I use all of these other ones that are out there? Like, oh gosh, there's so many things. Should I go to different people? Should I, this software here, Acre does this, you know, Xplan does that. Everyone always will ask me. I get DMs all the time about it. And the honest truth is, do the one that you have. Pick the one you have, stick with the one you have. Learn how to make it work. All of them are great. None of them are as bad as you think. And most people will think, and I hear this, I literally was with someone yesterday talking, they're like, the software is not good. And I was like, the software is so much better than you believe. You are not. Most people, including me, we are not good enough to outgrow that software yet. I am yet to meet one person, actually one's just sprung to mind. One guy I've worked with who's DA, who's phenomenally tech-minded. But he's the only guy who was so tech-minded that he absolutely rinsed that system to the point where he had to go to the next system, the next system, and the next system. But most of you are not using half the stuff that is needed. For example, a great example I would have when I was like an advisor is we would use 360.net, which is now 360 Lifecycle, I think, or 360 something like this. I know, I can't remember the name. I always remember it as 360.net, but it's, or 365, I think it's 360.net. Anyway, the one that HLP has, and I had it with HLP and I had it with Lifetime. But they have a hotbox feature. Nobody used that. When I was working in this like financial planning firm, no one was using the hotbox feature. And I remember learning it. No one used the hotbox feature. No one used, this was years ago, so obviously somebody, but no one used the hotbox feature. No one used the digital, like, client portal fact finds. No one. Because there doesn't work, the system's broken, I don't like it, all of these things. But none of them ever used it. And they go, oh, the client doesn't like it. No, our bias, our own limiting beliefs, our own behavioral biases are stopping us from using it. I used it. It was great. Hotbox meant I knew exactly who it was I was going to speak to. The fact find meant I didn't have to fill out. Now, I know a lot of you will do this already, but this is just an example. It's the same thing. That our tech we have already does a hell of a lot. And so if you're thinking and you're getting wowed by great marketing and great branding, by the way, nothing wrong with moving across. I'm not saying you should not move. What I'm saying is be careful, be self-aware to say, am I using this or am I looking for the silver bullet? And there's a thing known as the product adoption curve, the emotional cycle of change. And the emotional cycle of change is a really interesting concept, really, really interesting. And the idea around the emotional cycle of change is that there are 5 points. You have uninformed optimism, informed pessimism. You have, in fact, I need to get a whiteboard for this one. Now, if you're listening to this, you can head over to the YouTube channel and watch this, but you don't have to, I'll explain it still. But there is a thing known as the emotional cycle of change. And so it is like a U shape. Okay, this is gonna be a terrible drawing. But number 1 we have here, and this is called uninformed optimism. So uninformed, no, I can't spell, so that's fine. So we have uninformed optimism. And the idea around this mindset is, I don't know about this thing, but it looks like it's great. And it looks like it can change the world. If we go further down the line, what starts to happen is as we go down the line, we hit the second point. And the second point is known as informed pessimism. So PES, I'll put there. So informed pessimism. Now we're going down, it's like a U shape. So what happens here is we've taken this software and we go, do you know what? This software, this is really hard. And it's not really doing, it's really hard. It's harder than I thought it was going to be. I thought I was going to have to plug it in and go, I'm going to blame the software. I'm going to blame the provider. I'm going to blame all these people. It's not as easy as I thought. I'm a little bit frustrated about it. Then what happens is we reach the bottom of this kind of, it's like the U, it's not the bell, is it? They call it bell, I don't know, it's the bottom of the U. And this is the 3, and this is known as, and I love this one, the Valley of Despair. I don't spell at all with dyslexia, it's great. So number 3 is the bottom. So imagine a U is the bottom of that, and that is known as the Valley of Despair. And this is the point where everybody goes, this doesn't work. It's not working. I don't like it. They lied to me. They sold me this software is rubbish, or this automation doesn't work, or these leads are rubbish, whatever it may be. And that is what happens. That's known as, this is the emotional cycle of change. Now, if you push through, well, if you don't push through, what can happen is what is known as a feedback loop. So, or a death loop is what it's actually sometimes referred to. So, what can happen is you are number 3, you're in the Valley of Despair, and then a new automation thing comes out. Someone's hitting you with some targeted ads or something like that, and they go, I've revolutionized this thing. And you go, ooh, that looks good. That's going to fix all my problems. This thing I'm on right now is a load of rubbish. That it doesn't work. I put in all this work, it doesn't work. This thing, though, it does. So I go back up to number 1, and I'm back into number 1 again. And then we go back to down to number, and we go, and all of a sudden now we're back into informed optimism, because uninformed optimism, because we have no idea how this thing actually works, but we think that the marketing has told us it's better than what we do. And then we move through informed pessimism. Oh my gosh, it's really hard. Then we move back down, Valley of Despair, it doesn't work. And then another ad comes on and bang, and we're in this loop, instead of death loop, this horrible thing. Why I'm saying you should be careful this grass is greener when it comes to automation or anything like this is actually, if you can push through the Valley of Despair, if you can go through that, there are 2 more phases. The 4th phase is known as informed optimism, meaning, oh, this actually works. I'm starting to see it. I'm getting the hang of this. This is important. This is really important to understand it. So now it's like, it's working. And then the 5th one is success. You actually achieve it. That is the full emotional cycle of change. And you cannot fast track that. You can't get out of it. You can't not be in all 3 of them. You've got to go through them. And so why do I say that? And why I say it's important is because the Valley of Despair is where most people, when they say the grass is greener, if you're seeing software and you think I'm going to be there, or not so much software, it's not just software, it's anything. You're seeing it or hearing it from a friend of yours, or this thing's amazing. Including me, by the way. If you're working with somebody and they're like, my thing sucks, but Ash is the best, of course, I think I'm really good, and I know I'm good, and I've got the results to prove that, but I might not be what you think. You might think that I'm going to revolutionize and show you this thing, and I probably can if you are receptive and can get through those phases. But we can all benefit on all things we do if we can push through the Valley of Despair. A lot of the times if we quit, we are quitting because we are selling more about ourselves and our own mental toughness and resilience. You have to look at that when it comes to automation and stuff like this. Is a lot of the time we're just jumping from thing to thing, thinking that it's going to change our business, and we're just making clutter. Clutter. That's all that it can be a lot of the time. And my entire concept is around simplifying success. That's it. Simplify success. Do the basic things and do them well, and do them more than everybody else. But if you're spending 10 hours optimizing a form because you think it's going to save you time, oftentimes it might not be the case. That's my take on automation. I told you it's going to be a funny one. I love it. It's a bottom line. I think it's great. I think you should have it. I think everybody needs it. If you don't have automation within your business, you're going to be screwed as time goes on. It can allow people to scale significantly faster and bigger with less people. You don't need admins. You don't need as many admins. You can do the task of 2 or 3 people with one system. It's great, but it's also not going. If you automate everything, you will automate yourself out of a job, and that you deserve everything you get if you go that way, because you're gonna catch yourself out. And the final point really being, if you are going to think that, like there's that software now and Acre's there and this is there and that's great. And I hear all the time, Acre's done this has done that. Just pick one, learn it. And when you fully know it, then you can go, it's not for me, this. I struggle with it. I don't like it. I don't like the user interface. I don't like, and I have, as I said, met people who are like, no, I don't like it because of this, this, and this. I'm like, great. But if you don't like something because you just don't really know how to use it, that's a user error. It's not that the software's bad. And that's nearly always the case with most coaching things as well. And most programs, it's not a us thing. It's a, we haven't put the F in. And so that's my take on automation. Hopefully this has been a valuable episode to you. It's been a valuable one for me. I've just ranted and enjoyed it. But I will love you and leave you. If you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, head over to Ash Borland. If you want to get in touch with me, you want to work with me at all, you can go to ashborland.com and follow me on Instagram, which is @ashborland, where I share other content that is different to this. And yeah, guys, I will see you. See you on the flip side. I don't even know if that's a. I nearly swore then. Don't swear on these because brands don't like it. Anyway, I'll see you later.